I mean, this place has meant so much to me in my life, as much as you know. I mean, the fact that I came back here should be a testament to how much I love you guys. I love this environment. It's just such a cool place. It really, really is. I see God working here every single time I'm back. And Peyton may say I feel like I'm still stuck in high school. And if this means I'm stuck in high school, then I'll be stuck in high school forever because it's pretty stinking sweet. So, most of you probably know me, I would assume, but I'm Carter if you don't. I have to do that every time, just so to clear that up. I am a just finished freshman year at University of Georgia. I loved it very much. Yep, give it up for Georgia, unless you're a Tennessee fan. I know, we have a lot of Tennessee people in here, and I need to be very careful about what I say, or I'll get booed off stage. To start the message, raise your hand if you've ever been through a phase before. Probably a lot of people. I've been through a lot of different phases in my life. Would anyone be willing to share? Like, for example, a phase I've been through is I've been through huge Star Wars phases. I've been through Lego phases. I've been through where I'm like, I'm be a director someday phase, which is unrealistic. Maybe not for you, but who has something they would be willing to share that they've been through that may be kind of funny, or like, oh, I've been through that kind of phase before? Daniel, my man. What do you got? That's awesome. I feel like every guy has had that dream before. Maybe girl too, where I'd be like, I want to film myself playing Fortnite. Maybe people like watching me, but that dream was crushed because I'm not good at video games. Who's been through a phase before that they've been willing to share? Oh yeah, here we go. Neon clothes? Yes. I used to walk around full, it was like bright blue pants or shorts, straight neon shirt. I'd wear these super sick air bubble Reeboks with straight neon. They were sick. I don't know if my mom remembers those. I had the KDs that were all, oh man, I should go back to that phase. Who else? What's up? Sweatpants phase? Sweatpants phase for me is every winter. But if you're wearing them in the summer, that's a phase right there. I want to hear what Cammie's got to say.
A high ponytail with a headband.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of girls like that. That is a classic. That is a classic right there. So you may be wondering, why in the world am I talking about a phase you've been through? I've been through a lot of different phases in my life, like a lot. And I'll get obsessed over something, hyper obsessed for a couple weeks, and I'm like, why did I like it that much? Right now, I am in my tennis phase. My mom and sister can probably attest to this, but I am big into tennis, and I'm playing all the time. I'm watching it all the time. I look at scores every day. My sister and mom probably see me walk around the house with a racket, and I'm just swinging at the air, working on my form. And they probably think I look like a doofus. Do you see me do that? And I'll be like, Cammie, does my new serve motion look really good?
Yes.
And it always does, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me. I know it's good.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You're such a loving sister. So, growing up in tennis, I always had a favorite player. And for those of you who don't watch tennis much, this may be kind of someone you never heard of. But my favorite player was Roger Federer. And raise your hand if you ever heard of Roger Federer before. I'm not expecting a ton. Okay. He is a very popular athlete. And I kind of want to talk about some sort of athlete because we have the Olympic greatest imagery. And in my mind, he may not be the greatest tennis player, but he's one of the greatest ever. And I always kind of looked up to him as someone who's really cool. And I'm just realizing now that he's kind of matching you guys tonight. He would have really fit in with the neon night, which would have been pretty sweet if he was here. But so I was asked to talk about love for others. This weekend, we're talking about love for God, love for others, and Ben's talking tomorrow night, but we're just talking about the greatest commands that were given in the order of these loves. And the two greatest commands, who knows what those are? Love others, love God. The two greatest commands. And it's said many times in Scripture. But 2 days ago, a documentary came out, which is kind of convenient, about Roger Federer's last 12 days as a pro. And he talked about how it was a really tough time. I mean, you've been playing tennis for, I think he said 24 years just playing pro. So that's over half his life he's out there playing pro tennis. And I can only imagine how weird it is to have nothing to do every single day and you're trying to find stuff to do. So one thing they covered in this documentary was a relationship and a friendship between two of my favorite players, Roger Federer and a player who was a little bit younger than him named Rafael Nadal. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's also very popular in the world. So in this friendship, Federer was a little older than Nadal. He got into the tennis world a bit before Nadal did. And I'm just going to show the clip before I spoil it, but pretty much you'll see how Federer kind of poured into Nadal as a player and a friend. There you go.
So Rafa, do you know what you're going to give me for Christmas yet?
You know what? I'm going to come to Switzerland and play an exhibition match for you for next year.
So Rafa, do you...
Okay.
So Rafa... You know what you're going to give me for Christmas yet? Or?
You know what? I'm going to play an exhibition.
I think the world is a bit puzzled sometimes how we can be good friends. And I think it's possible to play it tough and fair, but yet inside be friendly. When he hit the tour, you could feel that there was something really special there. He was going to win slams, we knew it. I was at the top at the time, so for him to respect me was a very natural, normal thing. And for me, I always thought it's very nice to support young guys coming through. So I think the relationship kicked off in a very friendly manner. And then comes obviously the time where the rivalry starts kicking in. I lost my first match against him, and in the first instance, I was like, I don't want to have this guy here. I like being at the top alone. So I had to really find a way and dig deeper and look into myself, saying like, how am I going to deal with this now? Because it was a bit of a mind bender. I just couldn't quite figure him out and unlock him. I remember him as a young boy being very shy, struggled to give you the eye contact, you know, and all that. And he always said, oh, whatever Roger wants, I'm happy with that. And then as time went by, he became very strong personality, more confident as well, and one of his own ways, which I was happy to see.
In this world, it's easier to improve when you have positive examples in front, you know, and I had this in Roger.
So for those of you who followed, pretty much Federer got there before Nadal. And when Nadal became a pro, Federer tried to look out for a lot of the younger guys who are just getting into it, because that can be kind of a lonely time. That can be a tough part of your life. And yeah, this is a picture of them just recently. But it can be a very tough time getting into that. And what Federer quickly realized was that Nadal was really good at tennis. And Federer was at the top of the world at that time. And once Nadal started coming up, he's like, is it worth it still being like a mentor and a friend to this guy? It was hard for him to figure that out. And he was like, what comes first, the love or the rivalry? And at the end, you heard Nadal say how much Federer's friendship and mentorship meant to him and helped him to get acclimated to this world. When I look at my life, well, first I just want to show this picture. This was when Federer retired, and this picture makes me so sad still. I mean, these guys are bawling, crying at his last ever match. And I mean, I could only imagine how much of an emotional moment that was. But when I look at my life, this clip reminds me a lot of my own self. I have been Federer to people where I'm pouring into people. I'm really sacrificing a lot. And I really want to show love to people. And there are times where I feel like Nadal, where I have someone who's like Federer, who's really putting so much into my life, wants so much better for me, and will do anything it takes for me to grow as a person. To show how important it is to love others, I have a great couple verses I want to show. My Bible's upside down. It's from John 15, if you guys want to get to there real quick, and I'll give it a second. I have it up on the screen. John 15, 9 through 17. I'm going to read it, but I'll give you guys a second to get there. If you guys want to, give you a second. Almost there? Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead, and if you want to read along, feel free. John 15, 9 through 17. I have loved you, even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I had obeyed my Father's commandments and remained in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yet your joy will overflow. This will be my commandment. Love each other the same way that I have loved you. This is Jesus talking. Love each other is the same way I have loved you. That's a pretty big ask, if I'm being completely honest. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are no longer my friends if you are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master does not confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends. Since I have told you everything the Father told me. You didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command. Love each other. This seems like some very important stuff, if I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, it felt like Jesus in there said a million times that we need to love each other. I think that is so, so important. Jesus sees us as friends. So that gives us big shoes to fill. If we're supposed to love like Jesus, love others like Jesus loves us, it's going to be hard to reach that goal. If I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. It's not going to be easy. So what does this mean for us? What does this mean for us? It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of growth and a lot of being very mindful about this. So in the clip, I kind of showed you there are two parts of love. It's being poured into, which I've experienced a lot in my life, and it's pouring into others. And that's what I'm going to try to cover tonight, those two parts. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is getting poured into. We were designed to really want influences in our life. Raise your hand if you've been influenced at some point in your life. If you aren't raising your hand, you're probably lying. Because no matter what, there are influences in every single one of your lives. And it has molded you to the person you are today. Your character, how you think, how you act, your friends, all of that comes from who has poured into you in your life, who has mentored you and really sacrificed a lot for your well-being. To kind of look into my life, where I've been poured into, the first place I want to say is the Grace Chapel Youth Group. This place has meant so much to me in my life. So much to me. So much I can't even put it into words. Outside of my family, I love my family so much, and I am who I am because of my family. The youth group is right behind them for how I have grown. Whether it's Rocky or Ben pouring into me, Mr. Sam was a great small group leader who taught me so much. Even peers around me who have held me accountable and helped me become better as a person. So, people pouring into you and making major sacrifices for your betterment is what I describe being poured into. Striving for that, finding that in life is so valuable and so important. So I have a good story from the Bible that talks a lot about someone being poured into, and that's Paul and Timothy. You guys probably know about Paul and Timothy in the New Testament. Paul was going along a road one time. This is a classic VBS story. You guys have probably heard this story in VBS and a lot of other places. He was persecuting Christians. He did not like Christians. And as a Jewish man, he didn't believe in what Jesus stood for. He thought the Savior was still coming. But one day he was on his horse, and out of nowhere comes a big, bright light. Imagine Tanner's purple, but if that was just a bright light. So it's just a lot of light everywhere shining. Thank you, Tanner, for that, by the way. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Imagine that. So in a moment of intervention, God put a lot of trust into, well, I guess it was Saul at the time, and eventually changed to Paul. And Paul changed his entire trajectory of his life through that one moment. Jesus put a lot on the line to hope, trust that he's gonna change it up a little bit. So Paul went on his ministry, started being an incredible disciple of Jesus, going all over the world, teaching to different churches and keeping people accountable. And along those ministries, which was a decent bit of time, he ran into a guy named Timothy. And when I looked it up when they met, it said Timothy was 16 years old. So he was not very old. He was as old as many people. We probably got a lot of 16-year-olds in this room, or around 16. So imagine you're just going along one day and you run into Paul. You don't know who he is at the time. And Paul poured a lot into Timothy. At the beginning of Timothy, it talks about how Paul was a huge mentor for him, spiritually, character growth, all of that. I love 1 Timothy and 2 Timothy, but it just shows that pouring into someone is so valuable. And that's one of my favorite stories, because Paul, someone who was older, poured into someone who was a lot less mature, a lot less, didn't have as much growth as a lot of other people. And being poured into doesn't mean it has to be someone older pouring into you. A lot of my life, I think of people like, obviously I shouted out some people. My parents are older than me, but I have a lot of people who have poured into me who are my age or younger than me. I mean, first off, Cammie's poured into me a lot in my life. I told her I might shout her out tonight, but I did. She helps keep me accountable. She helps me, she shows me unconditional love. I can have so much fun with her. People like that can help me grow in character. A lot of my buddies, especially college buddies that I've now made, can pour into me so much and help mold me as a person, help me grow spiritually. And that's so important for every single one of us in this room to find. It's what Jesus intended. You all can probably think of someone who pours into you. And it's just so important and so valuable. Next, I want to talk about pouring into others. We have been poured into so much in our life, so I want to talk about how we can overflow and pour into others. To start off, I want to talk about it is just important to find people who pour into you as you pour into others. What does it mean to pour into someone? You may be asking. You could be like pour, like you're actually like pouring on someone. Like, is it like OMC or I don't know. This could be completely brand new for you. But I want to talk about is to sacrifice your will for somebody else's betterment. So just think of Jesus. If I can be completely honest, Jesus was the king of that. To guide and to lead growth is another way I think you can pour into others. Searching what they really need, not what you think that someone needs. Really looking out for their needs. And I mean, like I said, the greatest pour into of all time, of any person who's ever lived, is Jesus. And I feel like it's hard to disagree with that. Jesus was kind of the bomb with that. He really put a lot into people. The disciples. He brought 12 dudes around with him every single place he went. And he was always dropping wisdom nuggets on them, just left and right. That's a Ben term that's spread. The wisdom nuggets, just everywhere on these guys. And you want to talk about someone who really cared about someone. Jesus cared about these disciples so much. He'd call them out. And sometimes that's what it does take. Jesus would go around to the poor, people who had nothing in this world, in this time. Jesus would go around to the weak, people who couldn't fend for themselves, looked down on in society. He went to people who were diseased, lepers. You guys know the story of Jesus helping all the lepers. He poured into the young. Jesus poured into people who were a lot younger than him. He cherished little kids. He cherished their growth. He cherished pouring into them. Because of this, and all the people who have poured into me, I really try to pour into others. I really tried to make that a goal in my life. I'm going to get a little personal with you guys for a story here to kind of give you an idea. So, junior year, before junior year, I guess it was after sophomore year, I started to I really was wanting something. I don't know if it was something I wanted influence or whatever it was. I was finding influence and friendship in really poor places. High school's a tough time. I bet a lot of the high schoolers can agree. It's just a big change. High school can be so much fun. Don't get me wrong. I loved high school. But it can be a very, very tough time through a lot of different places. Friends, just overall social life can be tough. Academics, it's a tough, tough time. And I was really trying to find kind of being appreciated. I'm naturally a people pleaser, so I'm trying to do whatever I can to please people. And I haven't really shared this much, and I don't really know how to, I haven't really talked about it often with people from church, and I was making some very poor decisions. I mean, I was getting into drinking, and I was going to people's houses, and I mean, just doing things that I just look back and I'm like, what in the world? I was trying to find love, and I was trying to find approval in places where it was really not, it was just not safe. It hindered my growth, and completely honest, I got in trouble, and maybe I was really mad in the moment when I got caught. But when I look back, that is maybe one of the best things that could have ever happened to me in the moment. It was really tough, and I mean, all right, I'm not going to cry. I need to hold it in. But it was a really, really tough time for me. And I looked at myself and I was like, I'm kind of a failure. I mean, I look at all these people in the youth group around me, and they meant so much to me. And they just poured so much into me. And my family had poured so much into me. And I was just I just was not achieving what I was wanting. And I mean, it just crushed me. It crushed me. So I did start to improve. I confided a lot in Ben. And obviously my family, my parents helped me a lot. Sister was great. But the first person I went to outside of them was Ben. And I mean, I can't thank God enough for Ben in my life. I mean, he is the biggest character in my spiritual world of like ever. And I just thank you so much for all you meant to me, Ben. And he really helped push me through this time. He was there for me. He checked in with me. And I really don't know where I'd be if it weren't for Ben's help, seriously. And wintertime of that junior year, Rocky approached me and he was like, do you want to come and be an apprentice? Or at least try out for it. I guess I wasn't given the job, but I came and tried out for it. And it was a very rigorous course. I had to go through a lot of exercise. Think of Marines training, but worse. I'm just kidding. I just had to like film a video in my room of me talking, and that was pretty much how it went. But I was really conflicted because I was very empty. I was just getting over this hump in my life, and I just felt like I wasn't really good enough to do that yet. I didn't feel that I was worth having that opportunity. When I was in late elementary, early middle school, there was a group of guys that you guys probably, a lot of you know, that poured a lot into us. And these guys were peers, older peers. You guys probably know Jess, John Allen, the whole J-Pack. You guys know a lot of them, right? I mean, those guys were pretty stinking cool back in the day. And I would look at these dudes and I would be like, those guys are so cool. Like, Christianity can be pretty cool. The youth group's pretty cool that these guys are here. They were doing dumb stuff at Camp Watoga, like trying to go down the slide full speed and get into the creek, which in hindsight was very dumb. We would sneak out at night and we would go down to the water slide and have all this fun. I was like, man, these guys are sweet, man. These guys are cool. And I quickly remembered that when I was asked about this, because I had doubts about that. This time of doubt in my faith, I really didn't know. And I remembered these guys, what they meant for me. And I really wanted that for the people below me. I wanted them to have someone who they could look up to and they could look at as a leader. And based off that decision, I prayed on it, I read on it, I decided to take the apprenticeship. And if I'm going to be completely honest, that might be the best decision I've made in my entire life. A lot of people look around, there are a lot of jokes around, they're like, you're getting paid to do this and all this stuff. And there is nothing I could have been paid, or I could have paid to get back that experience that I had. I had two great mentors just looking out for me, putting me in opportunities to grow and succeed. I got to these leadership opportunities. I got to help try my best to pour into a lot of you, hopefully, and try to lead you the best I can. And I mean, I'd try and I'd fail, and I'd try and I'd fail, and then that's how you grow. And I grew as a leader because I tried to pour into all of you. And I hope I made an impact on some of you. And that was the goal. But that led to just so much growth in my life. I felt so in tune with God because of this love I was feeling among all these peers. This group of, what is it, like 70 people here tonight? It's been about that the entire time. And this group, I could name it. In what place am I going to go up to a sixth grader back in the day when, I mean, let's say back when Kieran and Jack and I were in sixth grade, we were boys back then. We were all boys back then. And I was late high school. Where else are you finding that? You're finding some 11th, 10th grade guy who's willing to pour into guys who are a lot younger. And where I can not just think I'm a mentor, where I can be like, these guys are friends. These guys are friends. A lot of you guys have been great friends in my life. I mean, all these guys and girls have meant so much to me. This community is something that it's hard for some to imagine. When I think of a place that shows so much love and so much care, where it's just constant pouring into and being poured into, I think of this youth group. Invest in this. Being a year out of it, I love college, but it's hard to replace this group, this tight-knit. It's just such a good job of showing what it's, I think what the kingdom of heaven is going to be like someday, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. A few people that I've seen grow so much. Obviously, the apprentice is here right now. All 5 of you leading so well right now. So well. Eli, Brooke crushed it in her message last week. I mean, I didn't tell you yet, but you absolutely got, yeah, give it up for Brooke. She crushed it. She crushed it. Eli, baller, fun being in a film with him, leading these people, great. Seriously. Tanner, he crushed it as well. This guy I've seen grow so much. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're giving it up for him. He deserves it. He deserves it. Known this dude for literally forever. I vaguely remember him being a little guy, like toddler age. And you've grown so much. It's cool to see how you've grown. Peyton, talk about growth. This guy has grown so much. And it's just, I'm so happy to see that. With all of you pouring into him, and now he's overflowing and pouring to so much other people. Like today I was just seeing him and Camp sit with a bunch of middle school girls, and I was like, that's kind of cool that these guys are looking out for them. That's really cool. That is really cool. And then last but not least, my favorite apprentice, because she's my sister, Cammie. I mean, don't cry. Actually, it's fine. It's natural. But, I mean, if you showed me who you are today compared to you 2 years ago, I would not believe it. I know it can be tough in life, and I've just seen you persevere through everything. You've done so much, and I thank this community so much for that. I really tried to pour into you, but my family always tried to pour into you. But it's just so cool to see how you have grown as a person. To my small group now, it's really cool to see how you guys have grown. Half of you guys I helped out back in elementary school. Who in here was in my elementary class? Kieran, I know. Jack, where's J Money at? Adeline, Hope was there. Where are you guys? It's so cool to see how you guys have grown. It's so cool to see the leaders you guys are growing into. I look at you guys as friends. Now, it's kind of cool that I've been with you guys. Was it 10 years? No. It was probably 7 years ago I started, but it's just so cool to see how you guys have grown. And I've worked alongside you in so many other things, like team movies. Specifically, me and Kieran and me and Jack had some dynamic duos over the years in the movies, and I would not be the GC actor I am today without those two guys. I can tell you that. I could shout out a million people in here. Shepard, I've just seen you grow so much. You're going to be maybe the GC GOAT by the time you're gone. You are a legend. I just grew up with so many of you guys, all you guys. It makes me so proud to say that I was a part of this community of all of you guys growing so much. I've seen so many steps along the path of good and bad, but the one constant thing is the love that we all have received for each other. It's so unconditional. And man, I'm trying to hold it up. I'm sorry. But I just love this community so much. I've had so many people pour into me from the old days. Clay was my old small group leader back in the day, and I remember Bible baseball. That was so fun. I've already shouted out Rocky and Ben more times than I can imagine. The whole mom crew of my mom, Miss Kate, Miss Ashley, Miss Robin, they've all just shown me the love and nurture that has meant so much to me and has helped mold me into the man that I am today. And you guys are so blessed to have all these people. Not only have I seen just so many of you grow, you guys have turned me into who I am today. I'm just so blessed to be a part of this. I've said that so many times, but I'm just so blessed to have you guys in my life. And all the people along the way, all the old cool peers like Jess and John Allen, Jared, all those guys, as we went on, the Reynolds boys, all those guys, it just showed what Christianity is truly about. Let's see. The greatest. Love each other the same way that Jesus has loved you. You see, I talked about Jesus' love for everyone, what he's done for so many people, and Rocky talked about it last night, about how our love for God should be the greatest. And Jesus sees us as a friend. So what should that mean? You can't fully love God and not love others. It's impossible. You can't do that. It really is just not possible because we are splitting images of what God wanted us to be. We are parts of God. And if you're not loving people, that's not loving God. And that's something I've really, really wrestled with. And this is really what love is all about, this place. And this is what we need to do. It's so easy to stay confined in this and show our love in here. It gets tough when we spread outside. When someone you may not necessarily like, you don't get along with, you argue with, that's when it's hard to show love. We talked about it in small group today, and I thought it was just great about all the people talking about how if it's hard to love someone, that's when you really can show Jesus. That's when you can channel that power that God gives us, this Holy Spirit that he gives us to show love to the world. And I hope that someday, it probably won't be in my lifetime, that we will get to see a world where it is this love everywhere. Imagine this youth group, but the entire world. That's what I imagine the new earth will be someday. And I'm so excited for all that. So one last thing I would just love to leave you with is We need to sacrifice our own wants for others' betterment. Finding people to pour into you will change you in so many ways that only God can imagine. Only God can imagine. So I thank you guys for letting me talk, and I'm going to leave you guys with, we're going to sing a song and kind of a time of reflection where we can think about times we've been poured into and we pour into others, and where we can take that next step to show that Jesus love in our life. Where can we show that? Where can we find that? So I thank you guys so much for letting me talk today. I mean, I love this place so much. I'll always come back if you ask me if I'm not busy. And thank you so much. And everyone stand and sing.